Hello, sleepy travelers, and welcome back to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, we're going to embark on a particularly fascinating journey, a gentle drift back in time to the vibrant, sun-drenched world of ancient Greece. We'll find ourselves in the bustling heart of Athens, a city teeming with philosophers, merchants, and artists, where the air carries the scent of olive groves and the distant murmur of the Aegean Sea. Our focus tonight will be on a figure often whispered about, sometimes admired, and frequently misunderstood, the HETAIRA. Imagine, if you will, a woman of extraordinary intellect, grace, and independence, a true star in her own right, navigating the complex social currents of her time with wit and charm. HETAIRA were not simply companions. They were often educated, artistic, and influential women who held a unique, often paradoxical, position in ancient society. We'll gently explore a day in the life of such a woman, tracing her rituals, her interactions, and the subtle rhythms of her world. So, allow yourself to sink deeper into your comfortable space. Perhaps dim the lights a little further, and let the gentle current of history carry you away. There's no need to rush, no need to strain. Just breathe, relax, and let's begin our quiet exploration together. Imagine, if you will, the first faint blush of dawn spreading across the Athenian sky, a soft pearlescent light filtering through the small, high window of a modest yet thoughtfully appointed room. Our HETAIRA, whom we shall gently refer to as Lysia for our journey tonight, stirs from her slumber. The coolness of the early morning air gently touches her skin, a comforting contrast to the lingering warmth of her simple bed. Her sleeping chamber, though not grand by aristocratic standards, possesses an intimate charm. The walls might be adorned with faded, yet still discernible, frescoes of delicate flowers or graceful geometric patterns, their colors softened by time and the dim light. The floor beneath her bare feet, when she finally eases herself upright, is cool, smooth stone, a pleasant sensation that subtly grounds her in the quiet reality of the waking day. There is no immediate rush, no jarring sounds to disrupt the tranquil stillness of these early hours. The city outside is still largely asleep, its vibrant clamor yet to awaken. Lysia stretches slowly, deliberately, feeling the gentle release in her limbs, a quiet acknowledgement of the day ahead. Her movements are unhurried, almost meditative, a silent preparation for the demands, both subtle and significant, that await her. Her morning ritual begins not with a flurry of activity, but with a quiet, almost sacred anointing. Reaching for a small, unadorned terracotta amphora, she carefully pours a small amount of rich, golden olive oil into the palm of her hand. The scent is distinct, a deep, earthy, slightly peppery aroma that speaks of the land and its ancient bounty. She rubs the oil between her palms, warming it gently, before applying it to her skin, her arms, her neck, her face. This is more than mere hygiene, it is a ritual of purification, of readiness. The oil cleanses, moisturizes, and perhaps, in the quiet solitude of her room, offers a subtle layer of protection for the day to come. It leaves her skin feeling supple, imbued with a delicate, natural sheen. As she performs these quiet motions, her thoughts might drift, unspoken prayers forming in her mind. Perhaps a silent invocation to Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, asking for grace, for wit, for resilience in the day that stretches before her. There is a sense of quiet hope in her heart, a silent plea for the day to unfold without undue burden, without sharp edges or unforeseen challenges. It is a moment of deep personal calm, a sanctuary before the world begins to intrude. Imagine that gentle stillness, the soft glow of the nascent light, the earthy scent of the oil, and the profound quietude of a new day unfolding. It is a rhythm of life that feels both ancient and deeply familiar, a comforting start to the hours ahead, a silent promise of a day lived with intention, no matter the circumstances. As the last lingering traces of the anointing oil settle into her skin, Lysia turns her attention to the careful and deliberate art of adornment. This is not a rushed, hurried preparation, but a thoughtful, almost ritualistic transformation. She moves towards a small, polished bronze mirror, its surface reflecting the soft light of the room, offering a slightly distorted yet serviceable image of herself. Near the mirror, arranged neatly on a small wooden table, lie her tools and pigments, small, intricately carved bone or wooden spatulas, tiny pots of powdered minerals, and vials of scented oils. The pursuit of beauty in ancient Greece, particularly for a woman of Lysia's standing, was a nuanced affair. The ideal often leaned towards a delicate paleness, a subtle luminosity of the skin that hinted at a life not spent toiling under the harsh sun. To achieve this, Lysia would carefully select a fine, white clay or perhaps a powdered lead carbonate, known as Cymithian. With a soft brush or her fingertips, she would apply a thin, even layer to her face and neck, blending it meticulously to create a smooth, almost porcelain-like complexion. Imagine the delicate texture of the powder, the quiet whisper as it touches her skin, transforming its tone with gentle precision. Next, her gaze would turn to her eyes, the windows to her keen intellect and expressive spirit. For emphasis, she might use powdered charcoal or soot, carefully applied with a thin stick or a fine brush to darken her eyebrows and outline her eyelids. This would deepen the intensity of her gaze, making her eyes appear larger and more captivating. The process is one of quiet focus, each stroke deliberate, each line drawn with an artist's careful hand. For her lips, a vibrant touch of color would be introduced. Red ochre, a naturally occurring earth pigment, or perhaps a concoction derived from mulberries or madder root, would be mixed with oil to create a paste. This would then be delicately applied to her lips, imparting a subtle, yet alluring, tint, a hint of warmth against the pale canvas of her skin. And for a final touch, a touch of rouge, perhaps made from crushed plant roots or berries, might be dabbed onto her cheeks, bringing a delicate flush, a whisper of vitality. Throughout this entire process, there are no sudden movements, no impatient sighs. The air might carry the faint, earthy scent of the minerals, mingling with the subtle fragrance of the olive oil. Lysia might offer a small, private smile to her reflection in the bronze mirror, a quiet acknowledgement of the artistry involved in crafting her public persona. She is not merely applying cosmetics, she is creating an impression, preparing herself to engage with a world that values both wit and beauty. Finally, she turns her attention to her attire. Her chosen tunic for the day, perhaps a delicate linen chiton or a more flowing peplos made of soft wool, is selected not just for its beauty, but for its comfort and the ease with which it drapes around her form. As she slips the garment over her head, the soft fabric rustles gently, a whisper of sound in the quiet room. She adjusts the folds, perhaps pinning it elegantly at the shoulders with decorative brooches, allowing the material to fall in graceful pleats. The choice of color might be subtle, a soft earth tone, or perhaps a rich blue or deep red, chosen to complement her complexion and the pearls or simple gold ornaments she might eventually weave into her hair. Imagine the feeling of the cool fabric against her skin, the gentle sway of the material as she moves. There is a quiet confidence in her bearing, an unspoken readiness. She is transformed, not into someone else, but into the most refined and captivating version of herself, poised to meet the day with elegance and composure. The morning light now fully illuminates the room, revealing the subtle beauty of her preparation, a silent testament to the quiet, ancient art of self-presentation. With her meticulous morning toilette now complete, and the soft, nascent light of the Athenian dawn having transformed her from the private woman into the poised HETAIRA, Lysia turns her attention to the fundamental, yet profoundly calming, act of nourishment. The quiet energy expended in her rituals has subtly stirred a gentle hunger within her, a natural cadence of the body requesting sustenance as the day begins to truly awaken. Her breakfast, unlike the elaborate feasts of the evening symposium, is a testament to the elegant simplicity and grounding rhythms of ancient daily life, far removed from the bustling complexities that will soon unfold. She does not dine at a grand, elevated table, nor on an ornate formal couch. Instead, Lysia finds her comfort in a more intimate setting, one that encourages quiet reflection and unhurried consumption. She might gently settle herself onto soft, thickly woven cushions, perhaps embroidered with simple geometric patterns or faded, earthy designs, arranged directly upon the cool, smooth stone floor of her chamber. This low-to-the-ground posture fosters a sense of groundedness, connecting her directly to the solid foundation of her home. Adjacent to her, a small, low table, perhaps crafted from dark, polished wood or a smooth slab of marble, holds the modest components of her meal. The setting is one of profound intimacy, designed not for social interaction, but for solitary contemplation and the quiet gathering of internal strength. The air around her, still carrying the faint, clean coolness of the early morning, might also hold subtle, comforting scents. Perhaps the lingering, dry aroma of stored herbs from her personal supplies, or the delicate, almost imperceptible perfume of a blossoming jasmine vine just outside her sun-warmed window, gently wafting in on the faintest breath of air. These are the natural fragrances of a world awakening, soft and inviting. Her meal itself is a study in unpretentious, yet deeply satisfying, simplicity. A small, unglazed ceramic bowl, perhaps hand-thrown and bearing a subtle imperfection, holds her primary sustenance, a portion of mashed dates. Their natural, sun-concentrated sweetness is a pure delight, a dense, complex flavor that speaks of warm lands and ancient orchards. Dates, a staple of the Mediterranean diet, provided not only sweetness but a quick, enduring source of energy for the demanding day ahead. Over this rich, dark paste, Lysia meticulously drizzles a thin, golden stream of local honey, gathered perhaps from hives nestled in the Attican hills. The honey's floral notes, its subtle tang, mingle exquisitely with the deep, earthy richness of the dates, creating a combined flavor profile that is both deeply comforting and subtly invigorating. Imagine the soft, yielding texture of the dates, the sticky sweetness of the honey melting slowly on the tongue, coating the mouth with a pure, ancient taste, almost like a decadent, yet perfectly natural, dessert. Beside this sweet offering, a delicate, stemmed kylix, a typical Athenian drinking cup, holds her beverage, watered-down wine. In ancient Greece, the consumption of pure, undiluted wine was largely reserved for the fervent revelry of symposia or ritualistic purposes. For daily, temperate consumption, wine was invariably mixed with water, transforming it into a lighter, more refreshing, and less intoxicating drink that could be enjoyed throughout the day. The specific vintage, likely a local, unassuming vin ordinaire, would possess a subtle, slightly acidic, and fruity tang, its notes gently softened and mellowed by the addition of cool, clean water. Lysia sips from her kylix slowly, allowing the nuanced flavors to linger on her palate, finding a quiet comfort in its gentle, subtle warmth. There is no element of haste in this morning ritual, no hurried gulping down of food or quick swigging of drink. Lysia eats with a deliberate slowness, her movements calm, measured, almost meditative. Her gaze might drift from the immediate presence of her meal, drawn towards the small, unadorned window of her chamber. Beyond the casement, the world is still largely quiet, but the first stirrings of natural life are becoming apparent. She might catch sight of a small, agile bird flitting amongst the silver-green leaves of a nearby olive tree, its occasional, soft chirping providing a delicate, melodic accompaniment to her profound stillness. Her thoughts, untroubled by the immediate demands of her public persona, are allowed to wander freely, perhaps reflecting on the unfolding potential of the day ahead, or simply savoring the fleeting moments of undisturbed peace that these early hours afford. She might contemplate the intricate tapestry of her own life, the challenges she has overcome, and the unique freedom she possesses, all against the reassuring backdrop of this simple, profound act of sustenance. Imagine the soft, increasing light of the morning filtering gently through the room, illuminating the quiet beauty of the simple meal before her. The subtle, rhythmic cadence of her chewing, the slow, deliberate sips of the mild wine, each action contributes to an atmosphere of profound, unassuming contentment. This quiet breakfast, imbued with the natural sweetness of dates and honey, and the mild, refreshing tang of watered wine, is far more than mere physical nourishment. It is a ritual of quiet self-care, a gentle gathering of inner strength, and a serene pause before the vibrant, demanding world outside truly awakens and begins to make its daily clamor. It is a moment of deep, personal grounding, preparing her body and spirit for the complex, fascinating tapestry of her day. With her morning rituals of cleansing, adornment, and quiet nourishment now complete, and the sun having ascended further, casting a warmer, more direct, yet still gentle, light across the terracotta rooftops of Athens, Lysia prepares to step beyond the quiet sanctuary of her home. Her next destination is the vibrant, pulsating heart of the city, the agora. This is not merely a common marketplace, it is the vital artery of Athenian life, a sprawling, dynamic space where commerce, profound philosophical discourse, civic duties, and the very essence of daily existence converged in a perpetual, yet always fascinating, spectacle. It is a place where every sense is gently awakened, yet never overwhelmed. As she emerges from the relative stillness and shaded intimacy of her private street, the sounds and scents of the agora begin, almost imperceptibly at first, to weave their complex tapestry around her. The distant murmur that was once just a formless hum now begins to clarify, resolving into a symphony of human activity, rich in texture and subtle rhythm. The distinct, yet mellowed, cries of vendors hawking their myriad wares start to emerge from the general hum, perhaps the sonorous, almost musical shout of a fishmonger extolling the pristine freshness of his catch from the nearby coast, or the rhythmic, almost chanting call of a textile merchant displaying his finely woven cloths, their colors softened by the morning light. There is the gentle, intermittent clatter of pottery being stacked or moved, the soft, pervasive shuffling of hundreds of sandaled feet against the dusty, well-trodden ground, and the ever-present, low drone of myriad conversations, a continuous, flowing hum of daily life unfolding. Lysia steps into this vibrant tapestry with a deliberate, almost serene grace. Her earlier preparations, the carefully applied makeup that subtly enhanced her features, and the elegantly draped tunic that flowed around her form, served not just for her personal satisfaction, but for her public presentation. As she moves through the periphery of the burgeoning crowd, there is a subtle ripple, a fleeting, almost imperceptible turning of heads, a quiet, knowing glance from those who occupy and traverse this bustling space. She is known, perhaps widely by reputation, perhaps by sight from previous encounters, a distinctive and captivating figure even amidst the throngs of ordinary citizens, merchants, and foreign visitors. Yet, her demeanor remains exquisitely composed, her head held with a quiet dignity, almost as if she is observing the rich tableau of the world around her, rather than being actively consumed by its incessant currents. There is no overt bravado in her posture, only a serene confidence, a quiet, inner strength that seems to radiate outward. Her specific quest today, amidst the myriad, captivating offerings of the agora, is for spices. The air here is a complex, ever-shifting blend of aromas. The sharp, invigorating, briny tang of fresh seafood brought in from the nearby coast, mingling with the wholesome, earthy aroma of grains, legumes, and sun-dried olives from the surrounding farmlands. These foundational scents are subtly interwoven with the sweet, intoxicating perfume of ripening fruits, figs, grapes, pomegranates, and most alluringly for Lysia, the pungent, exotic, and wonderfully evocative fragrances of the spices themselves, carefully brought from distant, mysterious lands across the seas. Lysia navigates the narrow pathways that snake between the countless stalls, her steps measured and unhurried, taken with an inherent grace that prevents any accidental brushes or collisions. She is careful to avoid the occasional discarded bits of fruit peel, a stray olive pit, or the rare, damp patch on the dusty ground. Her destination is the specific merchant specializing in these aromatic treasures. She finds him amidst a small cluster of stalls, his offerings displayed in open, inviting sacks made of coarse, natural fibers. Imagine the sight that greets her, the vibrant, muted hues of the spices themselves. The deep, golden warmth of saffron threads, meticulously gathered and dried, their delicate, almost honeyed aroma hinting at culinary delights and luxurious dyes. The rich, woody, comforting scent of cinnamon sticks, perhaps freshly broken to release their potent fragrance. The pungent, slightly peppery notes of cumin seeds, their aroma promising exotic flavors. And amidst these, a myriad of other less common, yet equally enticing, dried herbs and powdered roots, ginger, coriander, fenugreek, each holding its own unique olfactory signature, transported from the distant reaches of the known world. She might carefully pick up a handful of dried bay leaves, their fragrant oils releasing with a gentle rub between her fingertips, a quiet, tactile pleasure. The exchange with the merchant would be unhurried, a gentle negotiation of price and quality, a subtle dance of ancient commerce conducted with respectful quietude. Throughout this process of selection, as she carefully chooses her cinnamon, perhaps a precious pinch of saffron, and other desired ingredients, her senses continue to absorb the surrounding tableau, creating a rich, internal tapestry of her surroundings. The utterly irresistible aroma of freshly baked bread wafts from a nearby baker's stall, a universally comforting and grounding scent that promises warmth and simple sustenance. Laughter, clear and uninhibited, echoes from a small group of men gathered loosely around a renowned philosopher, perhaps Socrates himself, engaged in a lively yet measured debate on virtue or the nature of the cosmos. Children, seemingly oblivious to the intellectual gravitas of their elders, dart playfully through the crowd, their shrill cries a sharp yet harmless counterpoint to the deeper hum of adult voices. Lysia observes it all with a quiet, appreciative awareness, a silent absorption of the vibrant, living pulse of her city. She is not merely a visitor to this world, she is an integral, respected part of it, moving through it with a quiet authority that commands subtle glances and a quiet, knowing respect from those around her. The overall feeling is one of gentle immersion, a rich sensory bath without any sharp edges or overwhelming intensity. Having completed her gentle foray into the vibrant heart of the Athenian agora, and now laden with the subtle fragrances of the market, the lingering scent of spices, the faint memory of fresh bread, Lysia makes her return to the tranquil haven of her own dwelling. The subtle clamor of the city, its myriad voices and movements, gradually recedes behind her, replaced by the profound quietude that allows for deeper reflection, personal pursuits, and the cultivation of inner peace. For a woman of Lysia's unique standing and sophisticated profession, the cultivation of the arts, and particularly music, was far more than a mere pastime. It was an utterly essential facet of her refined education, a key to her captivating allure. and a skill meticulously honed to both entertain and enchant. Yet, for Lysia herself, it was also a deeply personal solace, a profound pathway to inner quietude and creative expression. Her gaze, upon re-entering her sanctuary, now falls with a soft recognition upon her lyre, an instrument of ancient beauty and elegant simplicity, resting gently in a designated corner of her room. This iconic Hellenic instrument, with its distinctive U-shaped frame crafted from polished wood, often cypress or maple, and its graceful arms extending upwards, holding a handful of tautly stretched gut strings, holds a quiet, almost sacred, promise of melody. As she approaches it, her movements are unhurried, imbued with a quiet reverence. She reaches out, her fingers delicately tracing the smooth, cool surface of the polished wood, feeling the subtle grain beneath her fingertips, and then the resilient, cool tension of the gut strings, each one a potential note. There's a faint, earthy, woody scent emanating from the instrument itself, mingling subtly with the last lingering traces of market spices that might still cling to her elegant robe. She settles herself with a practiced ease, not formally, but comfortably, perhaps on a low, intricately carved wooden stool, or once again upon the soft, inviting cushions that grace her floor. She positions the lyre against her body, finding the perfect balance, ensuring the instrument resonates optimally against her form. Her fingers, already accustomed to the delicate touch and subtle pressures required, having spent countless hours in practice, begin their gentle exploration of the strings. The very first few notes might emerge hesitantly at first, a quiet, tentative seeking of the correct pitch, a gentle, almost questioning testing of the instrument's unique voice. Perhaps there is a slight, almost imperceptible discord, a tentative pluck that draws a soft, self-amused smile to her lips. "Ah, a little recalcitrant today," she might murmur to herself, her voice barely audible, a quiet, gentle acknowledgement of the daily discipline and patient dedication required to truly master such a timeless craft. But then, with a subtle shift in her posture, and as her fingers find their familiar rhythm, a melody begins, slowly yet surely, to emerge. It is not a grand, tumultuous composition, designed for a large, public performance. Instead, it is something far softer, more introspective, a quiet outpouring of her inner world. Perhaps a gentle hymn dedicated to a beloved deity, or a melancholic, ancient folk tune passed down through generations, or even a simple, improvisational sequence of notes that flows organically from her unburdened inner landscape. The sound of the lyre is utterly unique, a pure, crystalline, resonant tone, slightly reedy yet remarkably clear, each note distinct, each vibration holding its own subtle beauty. Each deliberate pluck, each gentle strum, creates a resonant vibration that seems to fill the cool, quiet room, gently echoing off the painted walls, weaving itself into the very fabric of the space. Imagine the profoundly soothing, almost hypnotic quality of these sounds. The subtle, vibrating twang of the strings, the gentle, flowing rise and fall of the melody, creating an atmosphere of profound tranquility and deep peace. For what might feel like hours, Lysia allows herself to become utterly immersed in this musical practice. Her eyes might close occasionally, allowing her to fully feel the delicate vibrations, to become entirely one with the enveloping sound, letting the music wash over her. This is her sanctuary, a private haven where the external pressures and demands of the world outside her walls gently recede, and she can simply exist within the pure, unadulterated beauty of the music she meticulously creates. It is a form of deep concentration, a meditative act that simultaneously refines her remarkable skills while profoundly soothing her spirit, offering a rare moment of unadulterated self-expression. The gentle, harmonious melodies she coaxes from the lyre are more than mere entertainment. They are a profound and intimate expression of her cultivated soul. They are a quiet testament to the countless hours of dedication she has poured into her craft, to the countless quiet moments spent mastering an ancient art form that speaks directly and powerfully to the deepest chambers of the human heart. The lingering notes, after each gentle strum, seem to hang delicately in the air, an almost ethereal presence, filling the entire space with their calming, resonant beauty. This intrinsic ability to create such serene and captivating sounds is, indeed, a unique and potent power she possesses, a quiet strength that resonates long after the final note has faded into silence. As the long Athenian afternoon begins its gentle descent, painting warmer, more diffused hues across Lysia's dwelling, and the quiet contentment of her musical practice settles within her, a distinct, yet equally tranquil, facet of her day often emerges. This is when her intellectual life takes precedence, a realm where her cultivated mind, sharpened by continuous learning, truly finds its most profound expression. Her cultivation extended far beyond the visual arts and music. It embraced the intricate realm of ideas, of profound questions, of the very nature of existence itself. And sometimes, perhaps surprisingly to those unfamiliar with the unique social currents of ancient Athens, a figure of significant renown, a true luminary of the city, would grace her modest, yet intellectually vibrant, dwelling. Imagine, then, a quiet, respectful knock at the door, and the gentle arrival of a rather unassuming, yet profoundly influential, figure, Socrates himself. Such visits were not an anomaly within Lysia's world. In fact, they were a testament to the unique and often paradoxical position of HETAIRA in Athenian society. These women were frequently the intellectual companions of Athens' most prominent elite, its philosophers, its astute politicians, its celebrated artists, and its most influential citizens. Unlike the secluded Athenian wives, whose lives were largely confined to the domestic sphere and whose public appearances were strictly limited, HETAIRA like Lysia were educated, articulate, and remarkably capable of engaging in sophisticated philosophical discourse. Socrates, in particular, known for his unconventional approach to wisdom, his relentless questioning, and his pursuit of truth wherever it might be found, often sought out those who could offer fresh, unfiltered perspectives, those who were not rigidly bound by conventional societal expectations, and crucially, those who possessed a genuinely sharp and inquiring mind. Their meetings would be informal, devoid of the stiff formality of public assemblies, yet deeply engaging. They might settle themselves comfortably in a quiet, shaded courtyard, bathed in the gentle warmth of the fading sun, beneath the dappled light filtering through the leaves of an ancient olive tree, its scent subtle in the air. Or if the day was too warm, they might remain inside, where the thick stone walls ensured the air remained cool and still, a perfect environment for sustained thought. Small, elegant cups, perhaps simple ceramic kylikes or more refined silver bowls, containing cool, watered wine, would be poured with quiet reverence, their surfaces reflecting the soft, golden light of the afternoon. The entire atmosphere would be one of quiet anticipation, a tranquil space where minds could truly meet without the strictures of public life or the pressures of societal judgment. The tenor of their conversation would never be light, ephemeral chatter. Instead, it would delve deeply, gracefully, into profound and timeless subjects: the elusive nature of justice, the intrinsic essence of beauty, the often debated definition of truth, or the intricate complexities of love and human desire in all its forms. Lysia, far from being a passive, silent listener, would actively and thoughtfully participate. She would listen intently, her expression thoughtful, her eyes reflecting the subtle depths of the discussion, absorbing every nuance of argument and counter-argument. Then, with a subtle shift in her posture or a quiet, deliberate sip of her wine, she might interject with a remarkably perceptive observation, a pointed yet gentle question, or, as our imagined scenario suggests, a remarkably witty and insightful remark about love, a topic she understood with a profound, lived wisdom. Imagine Socrates pausing, his brow perhaps furrowing slightly in momentary surprise at the unexpected sharpness of her insight, then slowly relaxing into a deep, appreciative smile. Her comment, perhaps cutting through a layer of academic abstraction with its direct, practical understanding of human connection, would resonate with a simple yet profound truth. There might be a shared moment of silent acknowledgement, a subtle nod between two keen minds recognizing a truth unvarnished by conventional thought. The exchange would be stimulating, certainly, yet never overly energetic or argumentative. It was a gentle probing, a shared exploration of ideas, each participant offering their unique insights, patiently seeking a deeper understanding. The quiet rhythm of their voices, the thoughtful pauses, and the occasional soft laughter would create a peaceful, intellectual hum within the room. These conversations were a vital, enriching part of Lysia's sophisticated existence. They constantly sharpened her intellect, broadened her understanding of the human condition, and allowed her to connect with some of the greatest minds of her era on a remarkable, often equal, footing. There was a profound and quiet satisfaction in these exchanges, a gentle joy in the intricate dance of ideas, a validation of her intellectual capacity. You might find yourself quietly impressed, perhaps even a little awestruck, by her intellectual prowess, realizing that her allure extended far beyond mere physical beauty or artistic talent. It lay deeply in the richness and agility of her mind, her remarkable ability to engage, to challenge gently, and to enlighten. This serene intellectual sparring was, in its own profound way, as calming and enriching as the quiet, melodic strains of her lyre, a true testament to the multifaceted depth of her unique being. As the long Athenian afternoon gently mellows into evening, casting increasingly softer, more golden hues across the terracotta walls and cool stone floors of Lysia's rooms, a distinct and significant shift in her day begins. The quiet intellectual pursuits of the day, the personal moments of solitude and creation, now gracefully give way to the exciting, yet always measured, anticipation of the evening's primary engagements. For a HETAIRA of Lysia's standing and cultural importance, the symposium, a sophisticated gathering of prominent Athenian men for communal drinking, profound intellectual discussion, artistic entertainment, and refined companionship, was often the central and most significant event of her professional life. It was, in essence, her most exquisite stage, a unique arena where her honed wit, her cultivated artistry, and her captivating beauty would truly be allowed to shine with their fullest brilliance. The preparation for the symposium is, for Lysia, never a rushed or hurried affair. It is, instead, a deliberate, almost meditative process, imbued with a quiet, yet profound, sense of purpose. Her movements through her chamber remain unhurried, each step measured and graceful, reflecting an inner composure. She approaches a finely crafted chest, perhaps made of cedarwood with elegant bronze fittings, or a carefully constructed niche built into the wall, where her finest garments and most precious adornments are meticulously kept. The gentle, dry scent of dried herbs, perhaps lavender or rosemary, intermingles with the faint, sweet aroma of the cedarwood itself, serving to preserve the delicate fabrics within, protecting them from the passage of time and insects. Her choice of attire for the evening is a matter of crucial importance, a subtle expression of her status and her artistic sensibilities. She might select a chiton of fine, almost translucent linen, its weave so delicate it seems to breathe with every movement. Or perhaps a more opulent peplos, crafted from exceptionally soft, dyed wool, whose folds would fall with graceful fluidity. Imagine the luxurious feel of the fabric as she carefully draws it out from its scented resting place, the cool, smooth silkiness of a shimmering blue, reminiscent of the deep Aegean, or the rich, tactile texture of a vibrant crimson, subtly threaded with gleaming gold. Tonight, let us envision her choosing a tunic of a deep, resonant blue, a color that would beautifully complement her complexion and subtly enhance her features in the soft lamplight. Its exquisite weave might subtly catch and refract the light, and delicate gold threads, woven intricately into its borders or straps, would hint at an understated opulence, suggesting wealth and refinement without overt ostentation. As she carefully slips the garment over her head, the soft fabric rustles gently, a quiet whisper of sound, falling in elegant, classical pleats around her form. She takes her time, adjusting the folds, perhaps pinning it elegantly at the shoulders with decorative, finely wrought brooches, allowing the material to drape with effortless grace. Her hair, which would have been meticulously styled earlier in the day, now receives a further, final touch of artistry and refinement. She might unpin certain sections, allowing them to fall in softer, more alluring waves around her face, framing her features with a gentle allure. Or, for a more elaborate effect, she might carefully weave in small, lustrous pearls, their smooth surfaces cool against her scalp, or delicate, finely crafted gold leaves, designed to catch the flickering lamplight like scattered dewdrops. Imagine the cool, smooth feel of the pearls as they are carefully positioned, the subtle glimmer of the gold as it catches the light. As a final, exquisite touch, she might apply a delicate perfume, a precious blend of exotic floral essences, perhaps the intoxicating scent of rose or the sweet, powdery aroma of iris, subtly spiced with the warm, resinous notes of myrrh. This precious fragrance would be dabbed gently behind her ears, at her pulse points on her wrists, and perhaps a subtle touch to her décolletage. The fragrance itself would be subtle, alluring, a quiet invitation rather than an overwhelming presence, hinting at elegance rather than shouting it. Finally, she pauses before her polished bronze mirror, its surface reflecting the soft, warm glow of the approaching evening. Her gaze is thoughtful, assessing, yet devoid of any anxiety or excessive vanity. It is a quiet, objective evaluation, ensuring that every detail contributes to the harmonious whole, that her presentation is impeccable yet effortlessly natural. She adjusts a single fold of her tunic, smooths a stray wisp of hair that has escaped its artful confinement, ensuring every element is perfectly aligned. There is a quiet confidence in her posture, a subtle grace that speaks of a deep preparedness, a serene readiness for the hours ahead. She is no longer simply Lysia, the woman of quiet rituals and private thoughts. She is Lysia, the captivating HETAIRA, fully transformed and exquisitely poised to engage, to entertain, and to influence the most discerning minds of Athens. This entire process of preparation is akin to an accomplished actress preparing for a significant, multifaceted role, though without the frantic energy or hurried movements of a modern stage. It is a slow, methodical unfolding, a quiet, almost spiritual transformation that allows her to step fully into her public persona. The light outside her window continues its gentle descent, deepening to shades of soft rose and ethereal violet, a silent, beautiful signal that the city is preparing for its nocturnal life. Lysia, too, is now fully ready. She stands, composed, radiant, and utterly serene, poised for the journey ahead, a figure of profound elegance and quiet anticipation, embodying the very promise and allure of the Athenian night. With her meticulous preparations complete, her mind attuned to the evening's unfolding, and the last vestiges of twilight gently fading into the deep, inky indigo of the Athenian night sky, Lysia takes her leave from the comforting familiarity of her home. As she steps outside, the air that greets her is noticeably cooler, a crisp caress against her skin, carrying the faint, clean scent of the earth, of ancient stone, and a subtle, sweet perfume of night-blooming jasmine that drifts from nearby enclosed gardens, mingling with the last remnants of the city's daytime aromas. Above, the first bright, solitary stars begin to prick through the velvety expanse, like scattered, precious diamonds meticulously strewn across an immense, dark cloth, signaling the full embrace of the night. The bustling, vibrant sounds of the agora, which had dominated the daylight hours, have long since subsided, replaced now by the hushed, almost reverent symphony of the truly sleeping city. The occasional distant bark of a dog, a soft, muffled sound echoing through the stillness, or the faint, rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer from a remarkably late working forge, perhaps far on the city's outskirts, are the only disturbances to the profound and enveloping quiet. The winding streets, once teeming with life, with merchants, citizens, and bustling activity, are now largely deserted, their uneven surfaces of ancient stone smoothed and softened by the generous, pervasive veil of darkness. Lysia begins her journey towards the grand villa of her host for the evening's symposium. The path she takes is far from unfamiliar. It is a route she has traversed countless times before, in varying degrees of light and shadow, under the scorching midday sun and the cool embrace of night. Her sandals, carefully chosen not only for their elegant simplicity but also for their comfort and the soft, rhythmic click they make upon the ancient, worn stone, guide her steps with a familiar cadence. Each footfall is deliberate, measured, a gentle rhythm against the quiet, enveloping backdrop of the sleeping city, contributing to the pervasive calm. There are, of course, no bright, artificial street lamps to illuminate her way as there are in our modern world. Her illumination comes solely from the pale, ambient glow of the moon, if it happens to be visible in the night sky, and the scattered, flickering light emanating from the occasional distant house where a family might still be awake, its soft glow casting long, dancing shadows. The shadows are deep and long, stretching out before her like silent, watchful guardians, subtly transforming familiar landmarks, the distinct shape of a large public fountain, the outline of a renowned civic building, the gnarled branches of an ancient tree, into softly indistinct shapes, rendered more mysterious and evocative by the encroaching darkness. Imagine the cool, fresh night air on your skin, the subtle, earthy scent of dust and ancient stone, and the comforting, almost subconscious, sense of knowing precisely where you are going, even in the pervasive, soft dimness. She might pass by the imposing facades of ancient temples, their grand, fluted columns standing as silent, monolithic sentinels against the night sky, their polished marble surfaces catching the faintest glimmer of starlight, giving them an ethereal quality. The air around these sacred structures feels particularly ancient, imbued with centuries of devotion and quiet reverence. She might walk alongside the tall, crumbling walls of private gardens, where the heavy, sweet scent of cypress or the heady perfume of oleander hangs thick and sweet in the night air, a pleasant, natural contrast to the cooler, more austere scent of stone. This solitary journey is a quiet interlude, a crucial transition between the vibrant public engagement she has left behind and the sophisticated world of the symposium that awaits her. It offers a precious moment for silent contemplation, for the final gathering of her thoughts, or simply for the peaceful immersion in the quiet, profound beauty of the Athenian night. There is no sense of fear, no anxiety, only a deep and abiding sense of knowing the way, a quiet confidence in her graceful stride. She is moving towards a world of luxury, intellectual stimulation, and refined entertainment, yet this solitary walk under the vast, watchful gaze of the ancient stars is a profound and integral part of her evening's ritual, a gentle, unhurried passage into the heart of the night. It is a slow, quiet winding down, a preparation for the next unfolding of her remarkable life. As Lysia's quiet, contemplative journey through the sleeping streets of Athens draws to its graceful close, the subtle shift in the surrounding atmosphere becomes unmistakably palpable. The cool, profound silence of the starlit path gradually gives way to a faint, yet inviting, glow emanating from a grand villa, its presence hinting at the warmth and life contained within. Here, the soft murmur of human conversation, which had been almost imperceptible moments ago, now begins to clarify, resolving into a gentle, sophisticated hum of anticipation that subtly rises into the serene night air. This is no ordinary dwelling. This is the private domain of a wealthy Athenian, a meticulously crafted sanctuary of comfort, cultivated taste, and refined hospitality. She approaches the grand entrance of the villa, its scale and craftsmanship often signifying the stature of its owner. It might be a heavy wooden door, perhaps adorned with intricate carvings and polished bronze fittings that gleam softly in the ambient light, or a more open, welcoming portico, framed by elegant columns and guarded by watchful, yet discreet, household slaves. There is no need for a forceful knock, no anxious waiting. Her arrival is clearly expected, anticipated with quiet readiness. The door swings open with a silent, almost effortless grace, revealing a deeper, inviting warmth within. As Lysia steps across the threshold, a wave of distinct sensory experiences gently washes over her, a rich, immediate contrast to the cool, quiet solitude of her recent journey. The very first sensation that embraces her is often the complex tapestry of sense, a rich, sophisticated blend that speaks volumes of the household's affluence and the evening's offerings. The sweet, heavy fragrance of expensive, aged wine, perhaps mingled with the deep, earthy notes of terracotta amphory where it has matured, subtly intermingles with the delicate, almost mystical perfume of burning incense, its exotic aromas undoubtedly imported from distant, fabled lands. There might also be the faint, subtly enticing aroma of roasted meats, savory herbs, or sweet, baked delicacies, hinting at the culinary delights that are already being enjoyed within the grand dining halls. Her eyes, having adjusted to the encompassing dimness of the outside world, now slowly adapt to the softer, warmer, and much more diffused illumination within. The light here is not harsh or blinding, but rather gentle and inviting, emanating from countless flickering oil lamps set upon elegant stands, and tall, ornate candelabra, their flames casting dancing, ethereal shadows upon the polished surfaces of the villa. Imagine the soft, golden glow illuminating the expansive marble walls, perhaps adorned with magnificent frescoes depicting vibrant scenes from mythology, heroic deeds, or serene vignettes of daily life, their rich colors appearing deep and alive even in the subdued light. The subtle sheen of polished bronze statues, strategically placed in niches or alcoves, also catches the light, adding further dimensions of quiet splendor. Beneath her sandaled feet, the cool, uneven, and often dusty stone of the Athenian street gives way to a luxurious, sensory delight. Her steps are now cushioned by the yielding softness of rich, intricately woven rugs, their patterns perhaps geometric or depicting mythological beasts, muffling any sound. Alternatively, she might glide across the cool, smooth expanse of highly polished marble floors, their surfaces reflecting the lamplight like still pools of liquid gold. Each step she takes is cushioned, deliberate, a silent affirmation of the profound luxuriousness of her surroundings. The very air itself feels different inside the villa, distinctly warmer, more perfumed, almost laden with a sense of refined indulgence and cultivated pleasure. As she moves deeper into the villa, through a cool, columned peristyle, an open courtyard surrounded by columns, or across a grand antechamber adorned with further statuary and fine pottery, a subtle yet perceptible ripple passes through the assembled guests. Heads gently turn in her direction, not with overt clamor or boisterous greeting, but with a quiet murmur of acknowledgement, a respectful recognition of her arrival. A knowing glance might be exchanged between guests, a subtle nod or a soft, appreciative sigh. Lysia, composed and utterly poised, moves with a fluidity and quiet authority, like a figure perfectly accustomed to such discerning attention. Her blue tunic, its delicate gold threads meticulously woven into the fabric, seems to shimmer and glow with each graceful step she takes, reflecting the lamplight with an almost ethereal quality. This entrance is more than just arriving at a destination. It is stepping onto her stage, not in the theatrical sense, but in the social and intellectual sense. She enters not as a mere servant or a background presence, but as an invited, valued guest, a truly captivating presence whose charm, intellect, and beauty are keenly anticipated and highly sought after. The atmosphere within the villa is one of sophisticated conviviality, of deep intellectual engagement, and of refined pleasure, all held within a gentle, almost dreamlike bubble of luxury. She glides into this exquisite world, a picture of serene elegance, utterly ready to engage with the evening's unfolding events, her presence adding a subtle, yet undeniable, radiance to the gathering. Within the luxurious and increasingly convivial embrace of the grand villa, as the Athenian evening deepens, and the carefully diluted wine flows gently from the large craters into the gleaming kylix, a different and equally exquisite form of artistry often begins to take center stage. The sounds of lively intellectual discussion and quiet, appreciative laughter, which had previously dominated the space, might begin to subtly soften, yielding their prominence to the enchanting and alluring strains of music. Among the various instruments that would typically grace such a sophisticated symposium, the aulos, a double-reed pipe known for its distinctive and often penetrating, yet remarkably versatile, sound, held a particular and cherished prominence. Its voice, often described as possessing a unique reedy timbre, capable of both profound emotional depth and delicate, nuanced expression, had the power to fill the entire space with a truly captivating and almost hypnotic presence. As the musician, perhaps a talented young man or a skilled woman from the wealthy household, begins to play, poised and focused, a gentle, almost reverent hush slowly yet surely falls over the gathering. The initial, pure notes of the aulos might weave a slow, ancient melody, perhaps a solemn and graceful hymn dedicated to Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry, or a more reflective, introspective composition that speaks deeply of universal human emotion, the fleeting nature of beauty, or the poignant passage of time. Imagine the pure, sustained, and remarkably clear notes of the flute, flowing almost effortlessly through the perfumed air, their subtle vibrations gently caressing the polished marble surfaces, the rich tapestries, and the finely carved wooden details of the room. It is a sound that invites contemplation, a quiet, internal dialogue, a gentle rhythm that softly beckons the listener to simply be present, to surrender to the beauty of the moment without judgment or expectation. And then, with a poise that transcends mere movement, Lysia might gracefully rise from her reclining position. Her movements are never abrupt or dramatically sudden. Rather, they are fluid, seamless, almost as if she is responding instinctively, an extension of the very subtle currents of the music that now permeates the space. Her meticulously chosen blue tunic, with its delicate gold threads intricately woven into the fabric, seems to shimmer and sway with every delicate shift of her weight, every subtle turn of her body, creating soft, undulating ripples of color and light. This is not a boisterous or acrobatic performance, designed for spectacular effect. Instead, it is a dance of pure grace, a subtle, narrative unfolding of emotion and beauty through controlled, expressive movement. Her arms might rise slowly, elegantly, beginning from her sides and extending upwards, with the fluid grace of reeds swaying in a gentle, unseen breeze, or mirroring the delicate, unhurried unfurling petals of a magnificent, night-blooming flower. Her hands, expressive and finely shaped, articulate silent gestures, each movement telling a quiet story, embodying a profound emotion, or subtly emphasizing the narrative woven by the music. Her feet, light and remarkably precise, execute subtle steps, deliberate turns, and gentle glides across the smooth, cool floor. There is a quiet, almost meditative, poetry in her every movement, a deep and intrinsic connection between the haunting melody of the aulos and the ethereal, visual grace of her sculpted body. Imagine the gentle, almost hypnotic rhythm of her dance, the way the soft, exquisitely draped fabric of her garment flows and ripples effortlessly around her as she turns and pivots. Her posture is erect, yet remarkably supple, her spine elongated, her head often tilted slightly, her eyes holding a distant, almost dreamlike quality, as if she is listening not just to the external music, but to a profound, inner rhythm that guides her every move. The entire focus is on the fluidity, the almost continuous, unbroken flow of her form, creating an unbroken line of pure, captivating beauty that holds the quiet, mesmerized attention of those watching. There is no applause, no loud exclamations, but a pervasive sense of hushed admiration. The air around the symposium might be thick with the sweet, heady scent of expensive wine, subtly spiced, and the lingering, mystical perfume of frankincense and myrrh, adding another rich layer to this multisensory experience. Yet, despite these other sensory details, the dance itself remains the tranquil, captivating focal point, a living embodiment of the music, a visual counterpart to the soothing, reedy tones of the aulos. She is, in this moment, the quiet queen of the night, not through overt power or loud assertion, but through the gentle, captivating artistry of her profound presence, allowing the ancient music to speak directly through her body, lulling the senses of the onlookers into a state of profound, peaceful appreciation. The soft, clear, and haunting notes of the aulos continued to resonate, filling the space with their ancient beauty, guiding her every serene movement, until the melody gently fades, leaving only lingering echoes in the quiet room. As the graceful movements of Lysia's dance conclude, and the captivating, resonant strains of the aulos gently fade into the perfumed air, Lysia transitions seamlessly, almost imperceptibly, into another equally crucial and captivating aspect of the symposium, the ancient, yet timeless, art of conversation. This is precisely where her finely honed intellect, her innate charm, and her profoundly cultivated wit truly come to the fore, blending together into an intoxicating elixir that complements the flowing wine. She rejoins the assembled guests, perhaps settling onto a luxuriously cushioned a reclining couch designed for comfort and ease, amidst the small, intimate group of Athens' most prominent and discerning citizens. The atmosphere within the andron, the men's dining hall, is now one of relaxed camaraderie and sophisticated ease, lovingly fostered by the soft, golden glow of countless flickering oil lamps and the mild, comforting warmth of the carefully diluted wine. Slaves, moving with an almost preternatural quietude and remarkable efficiency, circulate constantly yet discreetly among the reclining figures. They deftly refill the elegant kylikes, the broad, shallow drinking cups, from large, exquisitely ornate craters, the mixing bowls where wine and cool, fresh water are expertly blended to the perfect consistency. The gentle clink of the ceramic cups, the soft, melodious gurgle of the pouring liquid, and the almost imperceptible rustle of fine linen and wool garments are the sole, gentle accompaniments to the profound and engaging discussions that now unfold. The topics of conversation at a symposium could, and often did, range widely, reflecting the breadth of Athenian intellectual life. Discussions might pivot from the latest political developments within the polis, the city-state, to profound philosophical musings on ethics, logic, or metaphysics. They might shift to the recitation of epic poetry, the sharing of poignant lyrical verses, or even delve into light-hearted, amusing anecdotes that drew soft chuckles from the listeners. Lysia, ever attentive and keenly observant, would listen with profound interest, absorbing every subtle nuance of the discourse, every inflection in a voice, every unspoken gesture. Her contributions, when she offered them, would be timed with meticulous precision, delivered with a subtle, knowing smile that hinted at deeper understanding and a wellspring of experience. Imagine her, listening intently as a group of esteemed men discuss the latest decree issued by the Athenian Assembly, or perhaps earnestly debating the perceived failings or triumphs of a particular politician or military leader. With a quiet, unhurried sip of her wine, and a gentle, intelligent glint in her eyes, she might interject with a sharp, yet always charming, humorous observation. It would be a gentle barb aimed not to wound or offend, but rather to elicit thoughtful laughter and perhaps a moment of shared, amused self-awareness. It seems, she might muse, her voice soft yet remarkably clear, carrying effortlessly across the space, that even the esteemed Strategos finds it easier to conquer a city than to govern the affairs of his own restless household. A soft, appreciative ripple of laughter would spread through the group, acknowledging the astute truth and the elegant wit contained within her remark. Her remarkable ability to gently steer the conversation, to subtly guide its direction when it perhaps veered into overly contentious or excessively dry academic terrain, was also a hallmark of her refined social skill. If the discourse became too abstract, too embroiled in a heated, yet ultimately unproductive, debate, she might gracefully pivot with a disarming ease. "Ah, but speaking of governance," she might interject smoothly, her voice a calming presence. "Does not the intricate structure of a truly fine poem also require a delicate balance, a harmonious order, much like the very laws that guide and sustain our city?" And thus, with such a subtle and elegant turn, the topic might shift, perhaps to the lyrical beauty of Homer's epics, the profound tragedies of Aeschylus, or the poignant, heartfelt verses of the poetess Sappho, inviting a different, yet equally stimulating, form of engagement. She might engage a renowned philosopher in a respectful, yet challenging, debate about the fundamental nature of the gods, or playfully yet intellectually challenge a respected poet's interpretation of a complex tragic myth. Her questions were always insightful, her arguments articulated with remarkable clarity and logical precision, and her humor, when she chose to employ it, was never crude or boisterous, but always refined, intelligent, and subtly alluring. The men around her, accustomed to the more limited intellectual engagement from their secluded wives, would find in Lysia a truly captivating and endlessly stimulating conversational partner. You might find yourself quietly charmed, perhaps even smiling subtly in recognition of her astute observations, feeling a profound sense of quiet satisfaction in the intellectual richness of the moment. The gentle, uninterrupted flow of conversation, much like the wine itself, created a comforting, enveloping atmosphere, inviting a gentle drift into thoughtful relaxation and intellectual contentment. As the Athenian evening at the symposium gracefully progresses, and the discussions, perhaps having explored the deepest philosophical questions, begin to gently mellow, a lighter, more playful, yet still refined, activity often emerges to entertain the distinguished guests. This was a cherished moment for shared amusement, a chance to engage in a delightful game that combined a subtle skill, a touch of precise aim, and a good-natured, unburdened competitive spirit. This ancient pastime, celebrated for its unique blend of concentration and camaraderie, was known as katabos. Imagine the setup of this elegant diversion: a large, shallow bronze basin, meticulously polished to a soft sheen, or a specific target placed somewhere in the convivial center of the gathering space. This target might be a small, delicate statue, perhaps of a winged Eros or a playful satyr, holding a tiny, precariously balanced disc, or a small, shallow cup. The objective of katabos was elegantly simple, yet surprisingly engaging and demanded a certain refined touch. Each participant, reclining comfortably on their cushioned cline, having savored most of their wine, would carefully gather the very last few drops of wine from their kylix. With a deliberate, yet almost effortless flick of the wrist, a delicate, practiced motion honed through countless evenings, they would then aim to toss or flick these small, residual quantities of wine dregs across the room, striving with quiet concentration to accurately hit the designated target. The specific sound this unique action created was both distinctive and remarkably satisfying, a soft, yet clearly audible plink as the small quantity of wine, propelled with surprising force, struck the metallic target, creating a crisp, resonant tone that echoed softly in the quiet room. Alternatively, if the aim was less precise, there might be a more muted splash against the floor or an adjacent surface, accompanied by a gentle sigh of good-natured disappointment. There was a quiet artistry inherent in the throw, demanding a subtle judgment of distance, trajectory, and the precise amount of force. It was a game that fostered a gentle, internal focus, a moment of light, enjoyable concentration amidst the more expansive and perhaps weightier conversations that had unfolded throughout the evening. Lysia, with her naturally keen eye and her exquisitely graceful hand, often participated in this charming game. As a woman accustomed to refining her physical movements through the elegant precision of dance, and sharpening her mind through intricate intellectual discourse, this seemingly simple game of skill was remarkably well within her capabilities. She would pick up her kylix, its cool ceramic a familiar comfort in her hand, perhaps swirling the last few drops of wine within its base, her gaze steady and focused on the distant target. Then, with a fluid, almost imperceptible flick of her wrist, executed with a practiced ease that suggested both innate talent and disciplined refinement, the wine would arc gracefully through the air, a tiny, dark trajectory against the lamp-lit backdrop. Imagine the quiet anticipation that would momentarily settle over the onlookers, their eyes following the minuscule, almost invisible, flight of the wine. This would often be followed by a soft, appreciative murmur of recognition as the wine landed with a satisfying, melodious plink against the target, confirming a successful hit. A small, confident, yet understated, smile might play upon Lysia's lips, a subtle acknowledgement of her own quiet mastery. She often excelled at such small, delicate challenges, demonstrating a serene composure and a surprising precision even in moments of leisure and play. There might be a gentle, appreciative ripple of soft laughter from the men around her, perhaps a light-hearted sigh of good-natured exasperation from a participant whose aim was less precise, adding to the gentle conviviality. The atmosphere during a game of katabos was always one of gentle merriment and sophisticated enjoyment. There were no loud shouts, no boisterous exclamations of victory or defeat, but rather soft, amused chuckles, quiet exclamations of mild surprise or delicate delight, and the constant, intermittent plink of wine meeting its mark, weaving a unique, rhythmic thread into the fabric of the evening. It was a communal activity that fostered a sense of shared, unhurried enjoyment, a subtle yet strong thread of connection woven through the diverse personalities gathered in the room. You might find yourself quietly mesmerized by the simple, understated grace of the game, picturing the slow, deliberate arc of the wine, the soft, satisfying sound of its impact, and the quiet contentment that accompanied a perfectly aimed throw. It was a beautiful, unassuming moment of ancient fun, allowing minds and bodies alike to relax into shared, tranquil amusement. As the Athenian evening at the symposium gracefully unfolds, weaving its intricate tapestry of conversation, music, and games, there often comes a moment when the nuanced, professional aspect of Lysia's life takes a more direct, yet always impeccably discreet, turn. For a HETAIRA, whose very existence was predicated on a delicate balance of intellectual companionship, artistic expression, and alluring presence, the understanding that her attendance at such gatherings often facilitated more intimate arrangements was an unspoken truth. These were never openly declared propositions, nor boisterous negotiations, but rather subtle, carefully orchestrated overtures, conducted with a quiet decorum that preserved the refinement of the occasion. Imagine Lysia, perhaps still reclining comfortably on her luxuriously cushioned cline, seemingly engaged in a casual, flowing conversation with a particular client. This individual might be a respected merchant whose ships plied the waters of the Aegean, a shrewd and ambitious politician with influence in the assembly, or a seasoned patron of the arts, whose discerning eye recognized true talent beyond fleeting beauty. Their voices, though part of the larger hum of the symposium, would remain low, almost imperceptible to the general flow of conversation, creating a private world, a small, hushed bubble of confidentiality constructed almost invisibly within the larger, convivial gathering. The air around them might feel particularly warm, carrying the lingering sense of the finest wine, subtly spiced, and the delicate perfumes that clung to the rich fabrics of their robes. The overture itself would be a master class in polite, indirect language, a testament to the sophisticated social etiquette of the time. There would be no blunt propositions, no crude statements, but rather a series of carefully chosen words, a gentle testing of the waters, a subtle probing of intent. Perhaps the conversation would begin with an extended, heartfelt compliment on her exceptional wit, her profound understanding of a philosophical point, the captivating grace of her recent dance, or the sheer artistry of her beauty. This compliment would then subtly pivot, segueing into a quiet suggestion of a private meeting on another day, a discreet invitation to an even more secluded part of the villa later that very night, or a veiled inquiry about her availability in the days to come. The specific terms of such an arrangement, while never explicitly voiced, would be mutually understood, forming an ancient, intricate dance of subtle expectation and quiet agreement. Lysia's response to such an overture would be equally measured, a reflection of her profound self-possession and practiced grace. Her expression would remain serenely thoughtful, her composure unbroken, yet subtly observant, her inner world carefully veiled. Her eyes, however, might hold a flicker of quiet, almost imperceptible, assessment, a careful weighing of the offer's true value, the potential benefits it presented, and the subtle intricacies of the individual making the suggestion. She would process the proposal not with overt emotion or immediate reaction, but with a detached, practical, and highly intelligent mind, carefully considering its implications for her independence, the nuanced dimensions of her reputation, and her long-term financial well-being. It was a business transaction, albeit one cloaked in layers of charm and intellectual engagement. She might nod almost imperceptibly, a silent acknowledgement that the offer had been fully received and was now being carefully considered. Or she might offer a response equally veiled, a phrase that clearly indicated acceptance without any explicit, undignified declaration, thereby preserving the delicate balance of decorum and maintaining the sophisticated atmosphere of the symposium. That would be a most intriguing prospect. She might murmur, her voice soft, almost a silken whisper, yet remarkably clear, her gaze steady and direct, a hint of a private, knowing smile playing subtly on her lips. There is a profound sense of quiet authority in her decision, a demonstration of her remarkable agency and control, even within the subtly prescribed confines of her profession. She was never merely a passive object, she was always an active participant in her own destiny. This moment is brief, fleeting, a mere whisper in the larger, convivial flow of the symposium, yet it is a pivotal point in her evening's engagement. It is a quiet, yet powerful, reminder of the unique and often complex negotiations that formed an integral part of her professional life. There is no drama, no sharp intensity, merely a quiet, profound understanding passing between two individuals, a silent agreement forged in the soft glow of the oil lamps. You might feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere around this particular corner of the room, a momentary suspension of the general merriment, as this delicate, unspoken agreement settles into the quiet hum of the night, becoming part of the villa's serene rhythm. As the symposium gracefully draws to its gentle close, and the last of the distinguished guests begin their quiet departures, Lysia too prepares for her familiar return journey home. The vibrant energy and intellectual hum of the earlier hours have now pleasantly mellowed into a pervasive, profound quietude, and the grand villa, which had moments ago been aglow with laughter, spirited conversation, and the soft flicker of countless lamps, now begins to settle into its own deep, nocturnal rest. Stepping once more from the warm, perfumed interior of the villa into the cool, embracing darkness of the Athenian night, the contrast is immediate and utterly profound. The air outside feels noticeably cooler, a crisp, clean caress against her skin, carrying only the faint, earthy scent of ancient stone, dry soil, and perhaps the delicate, sweet perfume of night-blooming jasmine that drifts from secluded gardens hidden behind high walls. Above, the first, brilliant stars, which had been mere pinpricks at twilight, now appear even more numerous, a breathtaking, intricate tapestry of glittering lights meticulously scattered across the ink-black canvas of the sky, seemingly closer and more brilliant in the absence of any competing city glow. The winding streets, once teeming with life and bustling activity during the day, are now truly deserted. The occasional late-night reveler, whose voices might have echoed earlier in the night, has long since found their way home, their sounds swallowed by the quiet. There is a profound, almost sacred, silence that envelopes her, broken only by the soft, rhythmic click of her sandals upon the uneven, time-worn stone pathways. Each footfall resonates gently in the vast stillness, a solitary, reassuring cadence against the backdrop of the sleeping city. The deep, inky shadows that clung to the buildings and ancient ruins earlier in the evening now seem to stretch even longer, absorbing the faint moonlight and softening the harsh edges of the world, transforming familiar sights into softly indistinct, mysterious shapes. Lysia walks at a steady, unhurried pace. There is no sense of urgency in her stride, no anxious rush to reach her destination, only a quiet, underlying desire to return to the familiar sanctuary of her own dwelling. Her mind, perhaps still gently replaying snippets of captivating conversation, the lingering melodies of the aulos, or the subtle dynamics of the Kotabos game, gradually begins to settle into a more peaceful, reflective state. The subtle weight of the evening's performance, the careful balance of wit and charm, the sustained intellectual engagement, all of these gentle demands subtly begin to lift from her spirit. Imagine the refreshing feeling of the cool night air on your face, the almost crystalline clarity of the few sounds that remain, perhaps the distant, haunting cry of an owl, a timeless echo in the deep night, or the very faint, continuous whisper of the wind through the slender, silver-green leaves of an ancient olive tree, a sound like soft breathing. The ancient walls of the houses, the silent doorways, and the grand facades of the public buildings she passes seem to stand as timeless, watchful guardians, bearing witness to countless such quiet returns throughout the long, storied history of this city. The journey home, though it might cover a significant distance through the winding alleys and broader thoroughfares, feels less like a laborious passage and more like a gentle, unhurried procession towards profound peace. The familiar landmarks she passed earlier in the evening, a distinctive, intricately carved fountain, a particularly ancient and gnarled cypress tree, the unmistakable outline of a public edifice, are now transformed into softly indistinct forms, rendered more mysterious and evocative by the pervasive darkness. This solitary walk is a vital decompression, a quiet winding down after the intense intellectual and social engagement of the symposium. It allows her spirit to uncoil, to embrace the quiet contemplation offered by the nocturnal world. With each quiet step, the promise of her own soft bed, of quiet self-care, and of undisturbed, restorative sleep draws ever nearer. The profound quiet of the deep night is not a lonely presence, but a comforting, enveloping one, allowing the mind to drift, to settle, to prepare itself fully for the deep rest that awaits. You might find yourself feeling a gentle weariness settling into your own limbs, a silent invitation to let the peaceful quietude of Lysia's return usher you further into a state of profound tranquility. This is the quiet culmination of her demanding day, a serene passage into the deep, unburdened peace of sleep. Having completed her silent journey through the sleeping streets of Athens, Lysia finally reaches the familiar, welcoming embrace of her own home. The heavy wooden door closes softly behind her, sealing out the vastness of the night, and enveloping her in the comforting intimacy of her private sanctuary. The air within, though cooler now, still holds the faint, lingering sense of her day, the subtle fragrance of olive oil from her morning ritual, a whisper of exotic spices from the market, and the delicate perfume she wore for the symposium. These are the gentle ghosts of her daily life, softly present in the quiet. Her first inclination is not to immediately surrender to sleep, but to embark on a quiet ritual of unburdening. The evening's elaborate facade, the carefully constructed persona of the captivating HETAIRA, now gently begins to dissolve. She moves with a slow, deliberate grace towards a small, functional corner of her room, where a basin of cool water, perhaps infused with a few drops of calming floral essence, awaits. There, a soft linen cloth and a small, smooth piece of pumice stone lie ready. Imagine the gentle sensation as she begins the quiet process of cleansing. With soft, circular motions, she carefully wipes away the layers of makeup, the white clay, the charcoal, the red ochre. Each stroke is slow, almost reverent, as if she is not just removing pigments, but shedding the day's expectations, allowing her natural features to re-emerge from beneath the artistry. The cool water feels refreshing against her skin, a calming balm after the warmth of the symposium. The act is symbolic, washing away the public persona, leaving only the private self. There is no urgency, only a measured, almost ritualistic pace, each movement designed to soothe and release. Next, she turns her attention to her hair. The intricate braids or delicate pins that held her tresses in place are gently unfastened, one by one. Her fingers, usually so nimble in playing the lyre or gesturing elegantly in conversation, now work with tender patience, untangling each strand, allowing the weight of her long hair to fall freely around her shoulders. Imagine the subtle rustle of the pearls as they are carefully removed and placed in a small, secure box, or the gentle slide of the gold leaves as they are set aside. The feeling of her hair cascading down, freed from its elegant confines, must be one of profound relief, a physical loosening that mirrors an emotional release. As she performs these quiet acts of self-care, her mind, no longer actively engaged in conversation or performance, begins its own gentle process of unwinding. The events of the evening might replay in soft, muted tones, a witty remark she made, a particularly captivating melody from the aulas, the subtle glance of a prominent guest. But these memories are not sharp or demanding, they are distant echoes, like shapes seen through a veil of mist. There might be a gentle sigh that escapes her lips, a deep, silent exhalation that seems to release any lingering tensions or anxieties of the day. It is a sigh of quiet relief, of tasks completed, of obligations met. She might sit for a while longer, perhaps on her cushions, simply allowing the profound stillness of the night to wash over her. The only sounds might be the almost imperceptible whisper of her own breathing, or the distant, comforting presence of the city settling into its deepest slumber. In this solitude, she reclaims herself. The HETAIRA, the public figure, recedes, and Lysia, the woman, emerges, allowing herself the simple luxury of being. There is a quiet strength in this vulnerable moment, a recognition of her own needs for rest and rejuvenation. This evening ritual is not merely about hygiene, it is a profound act of psychological unburdening. It is the dismantling of the day's careful construction, allowing her spirit to shed the roles it has played. The coolness of the water, the gentle touch of her hands on her skin, the freeing of her hair, each element contributes to a profound sense of peace. Imagine her quiet satisfaction, the deep calm that settles within her, a serene readiness for the ultimate release of sleep. It is a gentle, almost meditative dance of self-renewal, preparing her for the deepest rest the night can offer. Having completed the physical unburdening of the day, having gently shed the layers of her public persona, Lysia now turns her attention to the more profound, spiritual aspect of her evening ritual. In ancient Greece, the gods were not distant, abstract concepts, but living, breathing presences woven into the very fabric of daily life. And for a woman like Lysia, whose life navigated complex social currents and relied on subtle influences, a quiet communion with the divine was a natural, comforting part of her existence. She might move to a small, unassuming corner of her room, perhaps where a tiny, simple altar rests. It could be a smooth stone, or a small wooden shelf, adorned with a miniature figurine of a deity, perhaps a small, unlit oil lamp, and a few dried offerings from a past prayer, a withered flower, a few grains of rice. The air here feels particularly still, imbued with a sense of quiet sanctity. Her chosen deity for this intimate, nightly communion is, perhaps unsurprisingly, Aphrodite. Not merely the goddess of carnal love, but Aphrodite Panemos, the goddess of universal love, beauty, persuasion, and the harmony that binds humanity. For a HETAIRA, whose very livelihood relied on charm, connection, and the art of attraction, Aphrodite was a constant, benevolent presence, a patron and a source of subtle power. Lysia kneels, or perhaps simply sits with quiet dignity, her posture relaxed yet respectful. Her eyes might close gently, or gaze softly at the small figurine, her breath deepening, becoming slow and even. Her hands might rest open in her lap, palms upturned in a gesture of receptivity, or be clasped loosely before her. The flickering light from a single small lamp nearby might cast soft, dancing shadows on the wall, adding to the tranquil atmosphere. Her prayer is not a loud supplication, nor a demanding plea. It is a soft whisper, almost imperceptible even in the profound quiet of the room. Her voice, usually so articulate and engaging in conversation, now drops to a low, melodic murmur, filled with a gentle gratitude and a quiet hope. "O divine Aphrodite," she might begin, her words barely audible. "Guardian of beauty, weaver of hearts, thank you for the grace of this day, for the wit that guided my tongue, for the charm that eased my path." She might express gratitude for moments of joy, for successful encounters, for the quiet peace of her home. And then, her voice softening further, she might offer a gentle request for the night ahead. "Watch over me as I sleep," she might whisper. "Grant me dreams of serenity, and bless me with renewed strength and wisdom for the coming dawn. May my path continue to be guided by your gentle hand, may prosperity continue to find its way to my door, and may my spirit remain bright amidst the shadows." Imagine the purity of that sound, a soft, almost ethereal hum in the silence. There is a deep, unshakable faith in her voice, a profound connection to the unseen forces that shaped her world. The words flow from a place of genuine belief, a quiet conversation between her soul and the divine. This is a moment of profound spiritual centering, a relinquishing of control, and a trusting surrender to the protective embrace of the gods as she transitions into the vulnerability of sleep. The air itself seems to thicken with this quiet devotion, becoming heavier with unspoken wishes and a pervasive sense of peace. The entire room feels imbued with this quiet sanctity. This act of prayer is not a performance, it is a deeply personal, intimate moment of solace and connection, a final anchor before the mind drifts into the vast ocean of slumber. It is a testament to the quiet strength she drew from her spiritual life, a final touch of calm before she allowed herself to truly let go of the day. With her body cleansed and her spirit quieted by prayer, Lysia finally settles into the soft embrace of her bed. The cool linen sheets provide a comforting cocoon, and the darkness of the room, punctuated only by the occasional distant glimmer of a distant star through her window, is a familiar, friendly presence. In these quiet moments, poised on the cusp of sleep, the mind often drifts, no longer constrained by the immediate demands of the day, allowing the gentle currents of memory to surface. For Lysia, these memories are a complex tapestry, interwoven with threads of both tender innocence and profound challenge. Her beginnings were not those of a privileged Athenian girl, raised within the secluded walls of a respectable household, destined for an arranged marriage. Instead, her early life was marked by a different path, one that began far from the marble grandeur of Athens, in a village or a smaller town, perhaps closer to the rugged coast or nestled amongst fertile plains. Imagine her as a young girl, perhaps no older than 8 or 10, her days filled with the simple, earthy rhythms of rural life. The scent of wood smoke from the family hearth, the comforting warmth of sun-baked earth beneath her bare feet, the playful chase of small, quick lizards among ancient stones. She might recall the vibrant colors of wildflowers blooming in spring, the taste of freshly picked figs sweet on her tongue, or the sound of her mother's voice singing a simple lullaby as the sun set. These are the fragments of a childhood innocence, precious and distant, held with a gentle ache in her heart. But interwoven with these idyllic moments are the stark realities of her past. The whispered truth that she was not born free, but into a life where circumstance could shift dramatically, irrevocably. The shadow of poverty, perhaps a sudden famine, or the devastating impact of war, could shatter a family's existence. And so, the memory might transition, gently, without harsh details, to the painful reality of being sold. Not as a brutal, visceral scene, but as a quiet, irreversible departure. The somber faces of her parents, the quiet, tearful farewells, the feeling of a small hand slipping from hers as she was led away by a stranger. It was a passage into the unknown, a severance from the roots of her earliest years. Yet, this was not the end of her story, but a pivotal beginning. She was acquired not for brute labor, but for her innate intelligence, her quick grasp, her potential for cultivation. It was a recognition, even then, of a spark within her. Her new masters, discerning and shrewd, understood the value of an educated companion in a society that prized wit and grace. And so, she was offered a different kind of education, one that would transform her circumstances. The memories might then shift to the gentle, patient hands that taught her. The smooth feel of the lyre strings beneath her small fingers, gradually coaxing out melodies where once there was only discord. The endless hours spent learning to read and write, the shape of each letter forming slowly in her mind, unlocking the vast worlds contained within scrolls of poetry and philosophy. She would recall the delicate art of rhetoric, learning to choose her words with precision, to argue with logic, and to charm with eloquence. The taste of new, richer foods, the feel of finer fabrics, the sound of sophisticated conversations that slowly became her own. This transformation was arduous, a constant effort of mind and spirit, but it was also a liberation. It was the forging of her unique strength, the quiet determination that allowed her to navigate a world that had initially offered her little choice. There is a deep, quiet gratitude for the skills she acquired, for the pathways that opened before her, even if those pathways were unconventional. As these memories drift, some carrying a soft sadness, others a quiet pride, Lysia feels the immense distance between that small, vulnerable girl and the woman she has become. The journey has been long, marked by unseen struggles and triumphs. It is a testament to her resilience, her ability to adapt, to learn, and to thrive in the face of adversity. You might find yourself quietly amazed, a profound sense of respect settling over you, for the strength of a spirit that could forge such a life from such beginnings. These are the deep, quiet currents of her past, flowing gently into the vast ocean of sleep. As the last tendrils of childhood memories gently recede, Lysia's mind, still hovering on the precipice of sleep, often turns to a more abstract, yet deeply personal, contemplation, the paradoxical nature of her own existence within Athenian society. Hers was a life lived on the fringes of convention, a position that granted her freedoms utterly denied to other women, yet simultaneously bound her with invisible, silken chains. This internal discourse, a quiet weighing of her unique role, was a frequent companion in the tranquil hours before oblivion. Imagine her lying there, the darkness a comforting shroud, allowing her thoughts to unfurl like soft, ancient scrolls. On one hand, there was the undeniable breadth of her autonomy. Unlike the respectable Athenian wife, confined largely to the gynaeconitis, the women's quarters, and whose public appearances were strictly limited, Lysia moved with remarkable freedom. She could attend symposia, engage in open discourse with men, participate in public festivals, and even own property. She had intellectual agency, a voice that was heard and valued in circles where others were silent. She cultivated her mind, her talents, her very persona, shaping herself into a being of significant influence and allure. This was a form of liberation, a defiance of the rigid norms that govern most women's lives in the polis. She was not a possession, but a presence. She could choose her clients, to a certain extent, selecting those whose company she enjoyed, whose intellect stimulated her, or whose patronage offered the most advantageous opportunities. This semblance of choice, however subtle, stood in stark contrast to the arranged marriages that defined the destinies of her respectable counterparts. There was a quiet power in her ability to navigate the social landscape, to charm, to persuade, to exist as an independent economic entity in a world largely dominated by men. This was a deeply satisfying facet of her life, a testament to her resilience and acumen. Yet, as the quiet hours of night deepened, so too did the subtle understanding of the limitations inherent in her freedom. While she was not bound by the same domestic chains as a wife, she was, in a very real sense, still bound by her profession. Her independence was contingent upon her ability to maintain her appeal, her wit, her youth, and her beauty. Her financial security, while significant, was derived from the patronage of men. This created a delicate dance, a constant negotiation between her own desires and the expectations of her clients. There was an unspoken vulnerability in this existence. What would happen when youth faded, when beauty softened, when the intellectual spark dimmed? The respect and admiration she commanded could, with time, become elusive. Her independence, therefore, was always conditional, a golden thread woven into a tapestry that could unravel if she faltered. She could not easily marry an Athenian citizen, nor could her children, if she had any, claim full citizenship rights without specific legal provisions, which were rare. Her social standing, while elevated in some respects, remained outside the conventional, respectable sphere. Imagine her considering this duality, the vibrant liberty of her mind and movement, juxtaposed against the subtle, ever-present reality of her dependence. It was a life lived on an edge, a tightrope walk between autonomy and precariousness. She was a celebrity, admired and discussed, yet also a figure sometimes judged, sometimes envied, always observed. The whispers that followed her were not always whispers of admiration. Sometimes they carried the fainter echoes of societal disapproval. This quiet contemplation was not a source of distress, but a profound self-awareness. It was a recognition of the choices she had made, or had been made for her, and the intricate web of consequences that flowed from them. There was a quiet strength in accepting this reality, in understanding the precise boundaries of her unique existence. She was neither fully free nor entirely enslaved. She existed in a liminal space, a golden cage perhaps, but one she had learned to adorn and navigate with remarkable grace. And as these reflections gently settled, the paradoxes of her life softly dissolved into the approaching oblivion of sleep. As Lysia lies poised on the edge of slumber, her mind, now fully released from the day's demands and the complexities of her public persona, might drift towards another profound aspect of her life, the quiet, often unspoken, bonds she shared with other women of her profession. In a society that often isolated women, the HETAIRA formed their own unique community, a sisterhood bound not by blood, but by shared experiences, mutual understanding, and a silent, yet powerful, network of support. Imagine her recalling quiet afternoons spent not at symposia, but in the more private settings of another HETAIRA's home, or perhaps a secluded garden. These were not competitive gatherings, but rather moments of genuine connection. The air would be filled not with the boisterous laughter of men, but with the softer, more knowing murmurs of women who truly understood the intricacies of their shared existence. The scent of sweet pastries and light wine might mingle with the perfume of their robes, creating an atmosphere of gentle camaraderie. In these private moments, the elaborate masks worn for public consumption could be gently lowered. They would share stories, not as gossip, but as lessons learned. They would discuss the nuances of their patrons, who was generous, who was demanding, who possessed a truly fine mind, and who merely sought fleeting companionship. These were shared insights, quiet pieces of intelligence that could prove invaluable in navigating their professional landscape. Imagine the subtle nods of understanding, the shared smiles that conveyed volumes without a single word needing to be explicitly spoken. It was a form of collective wisdom, gently passed between trusted confidants. They might exchange advice on various matters, the latest fashion trends that caught the eye, the most effective herbal remedies for a lingering ailment, or the most diplomatic way to handle a particularly difficult client. There was a mutual respect for each other's wit, artistry, and resilience. For a HETAIRA, who often existed outside the conventional familial structures, these sisterly bonds provided a vital emotional anchor, a place where genuine empathy and understanding could be found. Consider the unspoken rules of this sisterhood, a quiet loyalty, a shared sense of dignity in their unconventional lives. There was no room for petty jealousies when faced with the larger societal expectations. Instead, there was a quiet solidarity, an understanding that their collective strength lay in their shared experiences and their ability to support one another in a world that could be both admiring and judgmental. They understood the sacrifices, the constant performance, the emotional toll, and the unique freedoms that came with their choices. These moments of connection were not grand or dramatic. They were gentle, intimate exchanges, often punctuated by soft laughter and knowing glances. A quiet sympathy for a difficult week, a shared amusement over a client's quirks, a subtle word of encouragement for a new artistic endeavor. It was a secret world, indeed, hidden from the gaze of conventional society, yet it was a world rich in genuine human connection, a profound source of emotional sustenance for Lysia and women like her. As these comforting images of shared understanding drift through her mind, Lysia feels a quiet warmth spreading through her, a sense of not being utterly alone in her unique journey. These bonds, forged in shared experience, were as strong, in their own way, as any familial tie. They provided a quiet strength, a subtle affirmation of her worth, and a deep sense of belonging within a community that truly understood the intricacies of her life. And with this comforting thought, the feeling of quiet connection gently carries her closer to the threshold of deep, peaceful slumber. And now, as the long, vibrant day of Lysia's life in ancient Athens finally draws to its close, and the last conscious thoughts gently dissipate like smoke, she approaches the final, most tranquil threshold, the world of dreams. Her body is entirely relaxed, heavy and comfortable against the soft bed. Her breathing has deepened, becoming slow and rhythmic, the steady cadence of true rest. The deep quiet of the night holds her gently, like a soft, enveloping blanket. In this liminal space between wakefulness and profound slumber, the mind, freed from the constraints of reality, often paints its own unique landscapes. For Lysia, whose waking life was a complex tapestry of intellect, performance, and negotiation, her dreams often offered a profound contrast, a simple, unadorned peace, a quiet landscape where her identity as a HETAIRA gently dissolved, leaving only the essence of herself. Imagine, then, the soft unfurling of these dreams. They are not grand, dramatic narratives, but rather gentle, shimmering impressions, like sunlight dappling through olive leaves. She might find herself walking barefoot through a vast, silent meadow, the grass cool and soft beneath her feet, imbued with the scent of wild thyme and dew. There are no crowds, no discerning eyes, no expectations. Only the expansive, endless sky above, painted in hues of soft lavender and palest gold. The only sound is the gentle sigh of the wind, rustling through the tall grasses, a melody of pure, untroubled nature. In this dream, she is simply Lysia. Not the witty companion, not the graceful dancer, not the shrewd negotiator. Just Lysia, observing the slow, effortless flight of a distant bird, or feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. Her hands, so accustomed to the lyre or the careful application of makeup, are now simply relaxed, perhaps tracing the delicate veins of a single, perfect wildflower. There is no need for adornment, no need for performance. Her hair might be loose and unbound, catching the gentle light, free from any pearls or gold. She might encounter simple, gentle figures in this dreamscape, a smiling old woman, whose face radiates kindness and quiet wisdom, offering her a basket of ripe, fragrant peaches. Or a child, utterly guileless, extending a small, smooth stone as a gift. These interactions are not conversations, but exchanges of pure, unburdened affection, devoid of any agenda or societal expectation. The feeling is one of profound acceptance, a deep and effortless belonging. The dreamscape offers a quiet freedom, a complete release from the gilded cage, however beautiful, of her waking life. There are no subtle negotiations to consider, no social currents to navigate, no reputation to uphold. Just the quiet joy of simple existence, the profound comfort of being utterly, unreservedly oneself. The colors in this dream are soft, pastel hues, and the light is always gentle, never harsh. The sounds are hushed, distant, like the memory of a far-off melody. And as these serene images float through her consciousness, a profound sense of peace washes over her, deeper than any she experienced in her waking hours. A gentle, soft smile might grace her lips even in her sleep, a reflection of the quiet contentment that permeates her dreaming self. It is a dream of uncomplicated happiness, a profound and simple wish for peace. You, too, can imagine that serene smile, that gentle peace settling upon her features. Feel the last whisper of her waking thoughts dissolve into these tranquil visions. Allow the quiet beauty of this ancient dream to gently guide your own mind. Let the pervasive stillness of the Athenian night, Lysia's quiet contentment, and the ethereal beauty of her imagined world slowly, peacefully, carry you further and further into the embrace of deep, restorative sleep. And so, we gently close the book on a day in the life of Lysia, our HETAIRA of ancient Athens. We've walked with her through the quiet rituals of dawn, experienced the subtle artistry of her adornment, tasted the simple sweetness of her morning meal, and navigated the lively, yet always fascinating, pulse of the agora. We've heard the soothing resonance of her lyre, listened in on her quiet, intellectual exchanges with philosophers, and watched her graceful preparation for the evening's symposia. We followed her silent journey through the starlit streets, stepped with her into a world of quiet luxury, witnessed the captivating beauty of her dance, and heard the subtle wisdom of her conversations. We've seen the gentle playfulness of Cottabos, felt the hushed tension of a delicate arrangement, shared her solitary walk home through the profound stillness of the sleeping city, and observed the quiet sanctity of her evening self-care and her whispered prayers. And finally, we've drifted with her into the serene landscapes of her dreams, a quiet tapestry of peace and unburdened simplicity. What did you think of her day, this woman who navigated her world with such remarkable grace and intellect? Did you picture yourself there, feeling the cool stone, smelling the olive oil, hearing the gentle aulos, sensing the quiet power she wielded? Her life, while ancient, speaks to universal themes of ambition, resilience, connection, and the eternal human quest for peace. As we gently return from the echoes of ancient Greece, back to the comforting quiet of your own space, take a moment to appreciate the stillness, the warmth of your surroundings. The complexities of history, even when explored gently, remind us of the simple comforts of the present. So, let the final whispers of Lysia's day, her quiet dignity, and her profound peace, wash over you now. There is nothing left to do, nowhere else to be. Just breathe, feel the gentle weight of your own body, and allow yourself to drift. The journey through history is complete, and the journey into deep, peaceful sleep awaits. Good night, sleepy travelers. May your dreams be as serene as the Athenian night.